Centuries ago, there was a small village in the mountains. The people there were afraid to leave their homes after sunset, because to the north of the village there was a cave that everyone called the Sleeping Cave. It was said that whoever slept in this cave for the night never came back in the morning. People believed that something lived inside the cave that entered a person's dreams. First it lulled him to sleep, then it took him with it forever. One night, a young hunter from the village, Arsalan, was caught in a fierce storm. Lightning flashed in the sky and rain fell like stones. He had no fire, no companions. Suddenly, he saw a black hole at the foot of the mountain. It was a cave. Arsalan knew that this was the place whose name made people shiver. But the cold was so intense that he had no choice but to go inside. He lit a torch and entered the cave. As he took a few steps forward, the sound of the storm outside faded. It was strangely quiet inside. So quiet that he could hear his own heartbeat clearly. The walls of the cave were marked with old handprints. Some of the marks were human, but some had unusually long fingers. Arsalan raised his torch. Someone had carved a sentence in an ancient language on the stone in front. He couldn't read it, but there was a strange mark underneath, just like a closed eye. He moved forward. After a while, he found a large space inside the cave. There was a pile of dry wood and old skins, as if a human had once lived here. Arsalan lit a fire and sat down, leaning against a rock. Exhaustion enveloped him. His eyes began to close. Then he heard someone's footsteps. He immediately opened his eyes. The sound stopped. He sat silent for a while. Then the sound came again. But this time the sound was coming from behind him. Arsalan slowly turned around. There was nothing there. He picked up the torch and shone it on the cave walls. Suddenly he saw a shadow. The shadow was not his. He stood still for a few moments. Then the shadow slowly disappeared from the wall. Arsalan's heart started beating fast. He decided to leave the cave as soon as morning came. But at that moment he heard his mother's voice. "Arsalan, go to sleep." He froze. It was the same voice that had lulled him to sleep as a child. Then the voice came again. "You are very tired. Close your eyes." Arsalan covered his ears. He knew his mother couldn't be in the cave at that moment. But the voice was very close to him now. "Just go to sleep." Arsalan held his torch tightly and started to back away. Suddenly his feet hit something. He bent down. It was an old human skeleton. He held a stone in his hand, on which a few words were engraved. Arsalan brought the torch closer. The words became clear. "This cave does not eat man, it eats his dreams." A cold wave ran through Arsalan's body. At that moment, the fire went out. In the darkness, he heard someone's breathing. Then a whisper. "You can't wake up now." Arsalan tried with all his might to open his eyes. But his body was not moving. He could see, he could hear, but he could not get up. He felt as if someone was sitting on his chest. Two white eyes appeared in the darkness. They were slowly approaching him. Arsalan gathered the last of his strength and threw the burning wood in his hand to the ground. Sparks flew. For a moment, the cave lit up. He saw that dozens of people were sleeping all around him. Old people, young people, women and children. Everyone had their eyes closed. and fear was on everyone's faces. One of them suddenly opened his eyes. Arslan screamed. It was his own face. The next moment, there was a loud echo in the cave. And then everything was silent. In the morning, when the villagers reached the cave looking for Arslan, they found only his torch there. Arslan was nowhere to be found. But a new handprint had been made on the cave wall. And beneath it was the same ancient phrase. He who sleeps here lives only in his dreams. After that day, the villagers closed the way to this cave forever. But even today, when the night is deep in the mountains, a young man's voice is sometimes heard from there. Wake me up. I'm not asleep yet.